Live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey, everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. And I'll tell you what, people, we're living the dream. We really are. That's one of those things that when people say, it's almost always said, facetiously. How you doing? Living the dream. It's one of those things people in prison say every single time you ask them. Yeah, I'm living the dream, because obviously no one dreams of being incarcerated. But well, let's hope nobody dreams of being incarcerated in this day and age. Who knows? But it's it really is. I could not be any happier. Mark and I we're just talking about the people on this channel right before going live. We were talking about it. Mr. T, good to see you. But we've been talking about all of the people involved in the lifeboat, and we really are living the dream. There's no other way to put it. We're doing what we set out to do, and we're doing it with the greatest group of people in the world who took our mission and ran with it. And then shaped it and changed it, and it could not be any better than it is right now. I just don't see it as a possibility. But Brandon Taylor, thank you so much, by the way. And that man wanted you to hit the like button so much that he actually paid, so that you hit the like button. So if that's not a good enough reason to get in there and just, obliterate that like button like you mean it, I can't think of one. I need to, before we get rolling, and we do this every once in a while, but this is huge. This is really a huge one. And I'll tell you why. On July 31st, not this last one, but the one before, I went live on the Tommy Scoville show. Within a month, Mark joined, and we really started to become what was to be the lifeboat, and things really started to change. But from that very first day that I went live, I will bet you that I could count on this hand the number of times that Charlie Murphy was not Charlie Mullins, right? Was not in the comments section in the live chat. Charlie is one of the most faithful cats in the entire world. Tomorrow he turns 77 years old. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how old Charlie is turning tomorrow. But as you get old, you can crack jokes about other people being old. You can't do that when you're younger. But tomorrow is Charlie's birthday, and since the boat will not be going live tomorrow, I really wanted to have a chance to say happy birthday to this guy. He has just been such a part of my family and our family. I don't just mean I don't mean just the lifeboat. The long before I put up the first YouTube video that I sat in front of. I knew who Charlie was, and I got to know him, and he and his wife are just the salt of the earth. Charlie's story is amazing. If you've never heard it, I've done a few shows talking about it, but Charlie is one of those people that makes the earth a better place, and there aren't enough of those on this planet. It does seem like the vast majority of them on this planet end up here, but Charlie has been here since day one, and he has just been one of the most faithful people here. Um, Charlie says he's turning 44. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to do a little research before actually that. So we'll get back to you on that one. I'm not sure I'm buying that. Um, I've been known to ride in a license in a car with a license plate that says I am 29 on it. So you can't always believe everything that you hear. My brother says I've been fortunate enough to meet Charlie and his beautiful bride in person. Good people. Yeah, no question. He really is. And Charlie was there for us when when my dad passed. That was long before the lifeboat started, but he was just there for us a really really a bad time. And I know my brother feels the same way. But I love you, Charlie. I really do, man. You're the salt of the earth, and the channel is always it's always a blessing. When you're not here, we feel it. Really, it's just the gospel truth. When you're not here, we feel it. So happy birthday, brother.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday,
And
man.
here's to many, many, many more. Here's to many more. So Nile is under the weather. And
Oh,
you know,
Brandon's buying likes again.
yeah, but you gotta love it.
Yep.
The Brandon, you're too kind. And DJ Daddio, I am glad that you were able to get in here. Uh, DJ Daddio, Mr. T is uh, just a guy that's also been here a really long time and is just a really, really good dude, a guy I've come to love. And his my schedule, right, that you guys all called for has made it more difficult for him to get on to the lifeboat when it's live. He doesn't miss shows because I answer all of the comments, so I know that he's commenting on every one of these. But uh, it's a good thing when he can pop up into the live chat. Means a lot.
Yep.
Now, yeah, prayers for Nile. Before anybody goes, oh man, he said he was going to be here. Nile has what we all have. The longer you do dope, and the longer, and I don't care whether your dope comes in a bottle or a needle or whatever. Dope to me is dope, but you abuse yourself for a long period of time, and there are going to be some serious repercussions in terms of health, and he's got some. But you know what? He always keeps his disposition, with all things considering, is actually pretty spot on. He definitely has a slightly different sense of humor from time to time than we do, and that's what makes the world go round. And it's awesome, and we miss him. So, thoughts and prayers for him. That would be great. And yeah,
Can
Brandon,
I,
you're just
let,
go ahead.
let me say something real quick before we get going here.
Sure.
Survival's in here. She's awesome, guys. Go check out her channel. She does a Rip was actually on her channel. She does a game show. She gets prepping channel people that run those kinds of channels, and she runs them through some trivia questions. It's pretty.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I saw that.
Yep, that's Ilea. She's survival there. So.
Oh, nice. Welcome to the boat.
Yep.
And before I get rolling, one other thing, because we're talking about looking out for people and saying some prayers. Can you guys see this? Right? This is not polo. If you guys can get a look at that, that says Safe Rides, right? Safe Rides is a charity that was started by a girl in town named Virginia, and I told the story of Virginia. We were going to have her on here to talk to us. Her lawyer did not like that idea at all, which is why she didn't come on. But the story, as you remember, she got into a car accident. Not her fault, by the way. The fault of somebody else riding with their headlights off on a dirt road and doing a U-turn on a dirt road with no lights on. And she ran into that car while drinking. And three people in that car were injured. And she has been able to keep this out of court because of the C plus math and all of the other things that were going on. It's been over 4 years since the accident. On Thursday, she will be sentenced. And I am going to be going to the sentencing. I'm going to speak not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of the lifeboat, because we believe in redemption, right? So going to go down there, and it's going to be very funny, people. I wish I could film it because the last time I saw this judge, she sentenced me to prison. So I'm going to go in there dressed up and make a speech, and at the end of it, tell her who I am, and that ought to be good for a laugh, unless she can recognize me. But yeah, so thoughts and prayers for her because the it would really be justice if this judge gave this girl a really long dose of probation, or a very, very, very short sentence because I have been there. So have a lot of other people here on the boat. And incarceration does not make people better. It doesn't. You can make yourself better while you're in there, make no mistake. But it doesn't rehabilitate people. It doesn't do. This is going to be it's going to be a travesty of justice, so to speak, because real justice would not be to put this girl behind bars. She's doing really amazing things, making sure people get home. We live in a place where here in Nevada, people can gamble, right? So you go out to drink, you might have $150 in your pocket, but I got news for you. More often than not, when you walk out the front door, you got nothing in your pocket, right? People gamble away every penny they've got, and then they got to get home. They're not calling taxi cabs. They're not calling an Uber. They're putting their keys in the ignition. Survival Game, thank you so much. That is so kind. She says, what you're doing here is so wonderful. I hope your channel gets huge. Much love. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. Another example of the crew that comes over from Wages World has just been.
He was with Mark too. Yep.
And Marf, yeah. Well, yeah. I think everybody here.
It's all the same, I
think everybody here is from Marf.
Right? You're right. You're right. Yeah. Good point.
So, but it's there really is just a synergy between these channels that seems to be social media, not anti-social media. So really happy that you're here, and that's a really kind thing to say. So we're going to dive into this, people, but thoughts and prayers for Virginia, please. And we talked yesterday, and we were talking about the difference between stress, right, and anxiety. And as an example, I talked about a whole lot of watches that I spent a whole lot of money on that weren't getting here because of some things that happened, and that was causing stress. And I was fighting to not let that stress get into anxiety with the bills for these things are going to get here. And I've been waiting so long on the one. They all came today. This is one of them. All of the watches arrived today, which just goes to prove exactly what we were talking about. You can build things up in your head forever, right? The following day they were here. Now the watches have been photographed. Things are going up. So just thought I would give you guys a heads up on that. Life is good. Now we're going to talk about preparing. And Mark's thumbnail was so spot on today. And this happens often. It really does. I don't know how to explain our method, right? Because I think it's funny. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Because the way that we do this is different, I think, than probably anybody else. Early in the day, I shoot my bobbleheaded partner. Finch says, "May I be honest?" No, we don't allow that here. As a rule of thumb, no. Go ahead, Finch. Say whatever you'd like. I shoot over a subject in the morning, and then Mark makes the thumbnail. And very often, like I don't say to him, "Here's exactly the direction I'm going in." And because I have spent a lot of my life speaking, very often what Mark puts up is it'll tweak the show or it'll change the show slightly. And it's really cool because it's Mark having the opportunity to put his 2 cents in without having to even put his 2 cents in. And very often it makes the show a whole lot better. I'm going through changes that most won't understand. Before I dive into this, I want to address that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Finch, you may be right. You may be right. But let me tell you a little something about the lifeboat. I was addicted to heroin for close to 3 decades. I've abused every drug on the planet. That drug addiction caused me to rob banks and get sentenced to federal prison. I got out. I married the defense attorney that I had been working with. And then I got into gun running, got caught with a lot of guns that I had sold to an undercover agent, had to go back to prison. And nobody judges me for that at all. And very often people come here with the assumption that they may not be understood. And sometimes they aren't. But what I can tell you is that no one here is going to judge you. And Everybody here has something that they have endured. It's why they're here, right? This is a lifeboat. And everybody has endured things that most of the rest of the world has not. And we've talked about this a lot. If you get through something that is just really, really difficult to endure, it leaves a residual effect. And very often with addicts, that residual effect is the ability to care for one another, even when you don't understand exactly what they're going through. And you'll hear people say things here like, "Man, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here for you." That's something that I've heard. I mean, literally 100 times. Boy, I can't imagine, right? I can't imagine what you're going through. But may you call in. You can call in on Friday. It's a great question. We just got all of the equipment and everything set up to do that. So on Friday, people, it is going to be our maiden voyage on the lifeboat for call-ins. Finch, I really wish I could have you call in today. We're just not officially ready to roll. On Friday, we will be. I beg you, come back on Friday. And you know what? I would go right now and say I would like you to be the first caller on the lifeboat. So if you come back on Friday, we'll have you in the history books. So now that I've squirreled all over the place, which I do, that's why my cat's named Squirrel. Now I'm going to tie this in. So I say to Mark in the morning, look, I need you to do the thumbnail, and here's what it is. And today's thumbnail says, "Are you preparing, or do you have a choice?" And it's such a perfect thumbnail. And this happens so often that we're just kind of on the same page. Because I promise you right now, one of two things is happening. You are preparing. You're preparing for sobriety. You're doing relapse prevention, preparing, right? All of these things you're preparing for. You're either preparing to screw up massively, or you're preparing to actually get through this stuff. But there's no chance you're not doing one or the other. There is no choice. One way or the other, you are preparing. You're either preparing to be successful, or you're preparing to fail. And it's really kind of funny. We've talked about this a lot. If you're going out of town and you're going to go see some friends for 3 or 4 days, you will spend 600 times longer preparing for that 3 or 4 day weekend than you will the rest of your life. And this is not a, hey, it's Tony Robbins. This is real talk, especially for people who are addicts. I talk to people every single day about getting sober. I talk to people every single day about putting down the bottle or putting down the needle or whatever. And when I always say to them, what's your plan? Well, I'm planning on quitting. Good. That's it. Right. We knew that. That was sort of the given. My point is, what are you going to do when this doesn't work? Because if your drug of choice is opiates, right? We went over this the other day. Let's say as your drug of choice is just what mine is, right? Well, then you got a 56% chance of relapsing in the first 7 days. And you got an 80+ chance of relapsing before the end of the first month. So what are you going to do when that happens? No, that's not going to happen with me. Maybe it happens from time to time. There are people who just jump in and they are able to pull this off. But more often than not, no. Look, bumps in the road are going to come. What are you going to do when they happen? And it's really quite funny if you think about it, because we don't prepare for it. And these things that you go, yeah, you know what, man, I just didn't see this coming. I ran into 2 old friends, right? And they started talking about, you didn't think when you started to get sober that there's a real good chance at some point you're going to run into the people you used to use dope with? That didn't run across your mind? I mean, I could see troubleshooting really bizarre stuff. Hey, I got a package in the mail. It was addressed to somebody, but I opened it up because it had come to my house. I hadn't even looked at the address. And when I did, there were 2 pounds of cocaine in there. Well, okay, you might not have prepared for that one coming, right? That's a little out of left field. Yep. But the stuff that is going to happen to every single addict, you better start preparing for it. Start thinking about right now, who are the people that will cause you to misstep? And right now, every one of you is thinking of a name. I promise you, everybody who's paying attention anyway is thinking of a name of, oh yeah, if there's somebody that's going to end up costing me, to stumble, causing me to have problems in this thing, it's probably this person, right? Insert your old friend's name here. Make a list of who those names are. This may sound silly to you, but just the act of acknowledging ahead of time that these are the people that could cause you to stumble is already putting on a shield of armor. Do you understand that? Just knowing who these people are and acknowledging in advance that, you know what, this person could cause me to have problems. When uh, when I get together with Jack, I have tons of friends that say to me, I can't believe you hang out with your running partner. Right? This was the guy that, for close to a decade, I did dope with every single day. I committed crimes with every single day. It was one of those things that, uh, listen, Captain, been here before. This is something bigger. Tell you what, brother, this may sound crazy to you, but for me, there's nothing bigger, honestly, because whatever the other subject matter is, if I don't remain sober, then there's no other subject. For me, truthfully, that's it. So, um, planning for how this takes place. I love my daughter. She won't be in my life if I don't stay sober. I love the lifeboat. I love trying to help people get off of the chemicals that are killing them, right? Killing them in this country at the rate of 120 people a day. Number one cause of death between the ages of 18 and 48 in this country is overdose. For me, this is pretty much it. Like, this is the top of it. And I'm not busting on whatever it is that, that you're talking about. But, for what it is that I'm concentrating on, spending the rest of my life on, it is pretty much this. It really is. And there's a reason for that, right? And it's not just because I am the most philanthropic cat that ever walked the planet. This is how I stay sober, right? Service, dealing with other people, talking about the things that I need to work on every single day, has kept me sober now for a long time. And this is kind of what I do. Speak to you in a language you can hear. Make you a deal. Leave me a direct message, because right now there are 30 other people who think I'm speaking to a language that they can hear. So I'm going to continue to talk to them, and I'd love to talk to you. So send me a direct message. And when this show's over, you and I can talk one-on-one, and I'll see if we can't speak the same language. Okay? That's my plan for now, Finch.
Yeah, that's a good thing, guys.
Okay? Yeah. That's where I'm going with that. So people, make a list of every single one of these people's names. Knowing in advance, these people can cause you to stumble. And then what is the plan for when you come across them? It may not be the same plan. You got 5 different people's names on there. It may be different. There are people you think, you know what, this cat might be able to be saved. And then you've got those friends where you think, no matter what happens, this guy ain't getting out of a life. I know people like that. And I know that I say here every day that everybody can be helped. But I know people that I can't help. Somebody else might be able to. But I know people that there's no chance in hell I could do anything to assist. So when I run into those people, I have a different plan for them than I do for others. But have a plan for every single one of those people. It's so funny to me, and not funny, ha ha, funny, tragic. But it is so funny to me, the number of people I talk to who go, boy, you know what, I blew it. I had 2 months sober, and here's what happened. It just came out of left field. People, nothing comes out of left field unless you let it. Right? So what are your triggers? What are the things that drive you to think about dope? I've talked about it on here a million times. Appetite for destruction. If that comes on the radio, I change the station. And now, as we spoke about the other day, the brain will default, right? It will default to what you have done over and over and over again. So now I hear the first 3 bars of Mr. Brownstone, right? And my hand goes like this. Boom, goes to the radio, starts twisting it. I don't have to make a conscious decision. The same thing happens with every one of those things that we're talking about today, right? The people. Now, how about events? You realize you go down this and you do it for everything. What events would cause you trouble? You want to hear a perfect example? I'm probably not going to go to Burning Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's an environment that is going to work really well for me.
Well, Survival Game made a comment, or actually has a question for you. It says, do you think there's a correlation between heavy drug addiction and undiagnosed mental disorders?
Good Lord, is there, right? When you take people who are addicted to drugs, you can break them into certain categories. And the largest category of that is undiagnosed mental illness, hands down. People who use drugs to medicate them so that they feel normal in a world that traditionally does not feel normal for them. Right? That is number one. Number two are people who use drugs to escape trauma. Now, very often you say, well, that's the same thing. Not, it isn't always. You know what I mean? You can be born with a mental illness that didn't come from trauma, right? That had nothing to do with it. But very often something that happened to somebody early in life has caused them trauma, and they make that go away. They cope with it by using drugs. And then the third class are people that just plain got out of control, right? They started smoking pot in high school, and very often it's because they didn't feel like they fit in. And if you wanted to be a jock in high school, well, then you had to actually play sports, which meant a whole lot of practice and a whole lot of sacrifice and all of these things that goes along with it. And there were people that say, well, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Well, then there's one whole group of people that aren't going to accept you because high school is vicious that way, right? So the jocks weren't going to hang out with you. So what do you got? You got the band kids and you got the people that do theater, and you go, well, I don't want to play an instrument and I'm not going to get on stage. And all of a sudden you start paring down these groups to smaller and smaller subsects until eventually you go, those guys over there accept anybody who gets high. And you looked at that group and you thought, you know what? There are people in there that are white. There are people in there that are black. There are people in there that are thin. There are people in there that are heavy, right? There's girls, guys. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. Very often you looked at all the other subsection. They all looked like they were, punched out of a little cookie cutter, right? They all dressed the same. They all did the same thing. The people who were getting high usually it's a situation that is really they're accepting to a fault, right? What is the only cost of admission? The only cost of admission is getting high. But the undiagnosed mental illness, hands down, is the largest group. It really is. And if this were addressed, we would have a lot less people who were, who are passing away on a daily basis.
Right.
It really is kind of it's sad because it's so preventable.
Johnny made a good actually it's kind of a question and a comment. It says, what do you do when it's a day like a holiday, birthday, or significant anniversary?
It's funny that you say that because that's coming up exactly on the list that I was talking about. What you do is you prepare for it before it happens, right? None of these things, we're drug addicts, right? We're recovering addicts. We're recovering alcoholics. The striatum part of our brain has been defaulting to the same thing that we did, right? So it goes back to it every single time. Hey, there's an anniversary coming up. It's the anniversary of the death of somebody that I cared about. What have I done the last 15 years? Well, when you don't do that, the striatum, small part of your brain, is going to go, why aren't you doing that? Go do it, 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 go do it. And it's just going to be that gnawing feeling in your brain. And the only way to beat that is to reprogram that. So you need to know, and as you're sitting down and thinking about, okay, well, I really want to get sober. Okay, well, then plan for Christmas, because I promise you it's coming. Plan for the anniversary of your marriage. The one you divorced 7 years ago. That anniversary is going to cause you issues. Don't let it sneak up on you. Don't wake up on, November 8th and go, oh man, this was my anniversary. Oh, you had 364 days to prepare for this. You didn't see that coming? Right? But I'll get that email. I promise you I will. I've had it before. Everything was going along good. And then, the anniversary of so-and-so's death, or the anniversary of, of my divorce, this came up and I just couldn't handle it. Is it on a different day every year? Or, you know what I mean? Like I'm lost. How did you not know that this was coming? How did you not take time to prepare for this? Why? Because you'll take more time to prepare for which Airbnb you're going to get on a 3-day vacation to Louisiana than you're going to spend planning for the most important thing that you're going to do in your life. Make no mistake, people. If I win a Nobel Peace Prize at some point, it will not be as important as it was getting off of dope. And you watch really famous people who get really, really huge awards, and they ask them. It's really like Elton John jumps to mind, right? They gave him the Lifetime Achievement Award. It was a Grammy, and the woman said, "There's not an award you haven't won. You've won Grammys, you won Academy Awards, you've won," and she listed all of these things. She goes, "What would you say that is what you are most, what are you most proud of all of the things that you've accomplished. He was like, oh, getting sober, and the woman was like, really? Like to her, this was just, he goes, oh yeah. He's like, I play music because I love it. That's something that I love to do. Getting sober was the most difficult thing I ever did in my life, and nothing has been more rewarding. Nothing.
Let me ask something here too, Tommy.
Sure.
Guys, talking about preparing for, because we know events are coming or what have you. I found, and this is what I experienced when I was, first, especially when I first got off of the drugs. I found myself not only not preparing for it, but I found myself at the ready to use it as an excuse.
No question. No question.
I mean, it was just bam. I mean, my mind just wasn't in the right spot. And, I was using it for that reason instead of actually trying to prepare. And, and everybody's time frame is different, right, Tommy? I mean, it really does matter where you're at in your road to wherever you're going to go. And for me, it took me a while. It took me like 3 years, guys, because listen, I couldn't remember when I first got clean a Christmas without having that, or a birthday, or a walk in the park. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So you gotta, again, and I know I said this so much, I'm kicking a dead horse here, but you got to create new memories, and that's part of it. So yeah, and I have to say, within the past couple of years, I'm finding myself not having to concentrate on that as hard. I'm actually, I'm starting to enjoy myself again without that stuff when I get into family. Because I just quit going to family gatherings for a long time. And
sure.
And that's right or wrong for some people. It's all on where you're at. You don't want to push yourself to the point where you're going to go over there, get so messed up and mad or depressed that you go use. But
and make no mistake, it's right.
Yeah.
It's right. It might not feel right, but your number one responsibility, right? I don't care what list you make, right? My number one responsibility is to my daughter. Okay, great. Then right after you stay sober, that's the most important thing. Well, the number one thing is, the relationship with my parents. Perfect. Right after you stay sober, that will be number one, because number one isn't even on. Staying sober isn't even on the list. That's your life, right? The list is everything after that fact. You understand? And what Mark said is absolutely essential. And M. Hunt backed you up. He said, it's something that he went through. We want an excuse. We want one. Now we know we can say it to another addict, even if they're sober. Oh, you know what? I was doing really good. And then, the day that so-and-so passed away came up, and I used. Well, you were looking for that excuse. I'm not busting anybody's chops, but let's be really honest, especially in the beginning. I've talked about, my daughter being stolen from me as a kid. It was my favorite excuse forever. And I kept that thing like you would a holstered weapon. So that when someone would say, I can't believe you're still using it, I'd be like, they took my daughter from me. You know what I mean? Like It was ready to be pulled out instantly because that was my favorite excuse. And I had a bunch of them.
Yeah.
That's just one, but that was my go-to. If you really wanted to give me crap, I'd say, you don't know what it's like to have somebody steal your daughter from you. Well, the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of people who know what that's like, right? Yeah. It's not a particularly rare thing that happens. Not everybody jumps in a needle.
I found myself doing this, guys. I've had a lot of health issues. I've had a lot of surgeries. And, I had some of those surgeries while I was still, addicted to opiates and all that. I found myself not like trying to make a surgery happen, but actually looking forward to it because I knew I was going to get opiates. Honestly, and I would do this. I'm not even kidding. I would try to stay awake as long as I could while I was laying on that table.
Sure.
That's really where my mind was at. It's like, for people that
there's no addict that hasn't done that. Yeah. Every single person who's ever been on drugs, because that really is one of the highest you're ever going to be, is when they start to put you out. Mm-hmm. We're talking about they're mixing not just really heavy drugs, but they're also changing the amount of oxygen in your blood, exchanging it for nitrogen, right? When nitrogen is the strongest of all narcotics, believe it or not. Everybody does that. Like I had friends who'd be like, man, they wanted me to count down from 100 and I wanted to get to 2. Yeah. Like I was hanging for that. That's what killed Michael Jackson, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is. He
Propofol.
used to
Yeah.
go to sleep. Yeah, propofol. He would go to sleep every single night by being sedated.
They
You
call
know,
it, what
which
do
is
they call that stuff? Milk of amnesia.
milk of amnesia. Well done. That's exactly what they call that.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, I mean, you know how messed up that sounds for somebody that has never been an addict? You know what I mean? Nobody else is going to understand that except for all of us that have been addicts. You know, and that's why we do what we do, because we understand
Yeah.
each other. So anyway,
Tommy Bird. Here's a thought, Tommy, because Tommy says, I am dreading this court room Monday. I'm trying to not let it upset me, but the dread is setting in. You asked me when all of this started with you if I had ever had my federal probation revoked. And the answer was no, I had not. I have had state probation revoked. I didn't understand exactly why you were asking the question, but I have had my probation revoked in the state. And I honestly am not sure how many times. Um, More often than not, they're not going to allow you to go home and show up on Thursday. If it's a probation violation and they're serious about it, 9 out of 10 times they're putting handcuffs on you, putting you in jail until it's time to see the judge. So I don't know that this. I mean, don't start living it, right? Because you're going from stress, right, to anxiety. You're starting to take this to its worst possible case scenario, and we've done a couple of shows on this as well. How about if you go with the best case scenario for a little while? All right, spend the next 3 minutes going, what is the best thing that could happen in that courtroom? And I mean, look, you also have to keep in mind, and this is an absolute fact, right? We tend to think as uh, we're starting to go into these things, we start to think, oh man, they're going to think I'm this, they're going to think I'm that. The judge has been watching people all day who have come through there for rape. They've come through there for murder, right? I don't think you have a handle on what these judges see, right? They're going to see you and go, this isn't a guy screwing up, right? When you're on probation, what they want to know is that you can do probation. Well, you've proved the hell out of that. It's been years. So before you really start to build yourself up and get stressed to hell about this, I honestly don't think that's the play. Tommy, I think the play on this is to concentrate on what the best case scenario is going to be, and when they give you an opportunity to speak, just be bewildered, right? Because you are. Don't make it up. Just be like, you know what? I haven't done anything. This is the best I've done in so long, and then out of the blue, I catch this a couple of years later. I go to group therapy 5 days a week, right? Which I'm not ordered to go to. I spend an hour a day, 5 days a week. This is. Yeah, it's don't build this up
right.
into a monster before it is one. What is going to happen on Monday? It's going to happen on Monday, right? Whether you absolutely drive yourself insane between now and then, or you kick back and relax and don't even think about it, I assure you it's not going to change the outcome of what's going to happen on Monday. The only thing it's going to do is it's going to cause you to be really stressed out. And that stress will lead to anxiety, and then you'll get anxiety eating, and you'll have sleep problems, and you're going to walk in there looking like what you're afraid they think you're going to look like. You understand what I'm saying? You walk in there on 3 or 4 days and not sleeping, and you start looking like somebody other than who you are, brother. Go in there bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and be the guy you are, because the guy you are is not someone that needs their probation revoked. And I don't think there's anybody that would argue that point. I really don't. I don't think anybody would argue that point. So
Yep.
Hang in there, brother. And you're in my thoughts and prayers.
Hey Finch, we can get you on live on Friday, brother. We can't do it tonight. Thanks for the super chat. But yeah, we can't do it tonight, guys.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the super chat. And I did see a comment that said I am smarter than the average bear. And you know what? I'm not. Really not. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that but yeah, I mean, I'm not. And if the subject matter is so heady, you're going to lose me, brother. You really are. You know what I mean? It is a channel where we concentrate primarily on what drugs do to you and the way to avoid that. The one thing that everybody here, almost to a person, has in common is they are either trying to overcome drug addiction or they already have, right? It is, for all intents and purposes, it is a modern version of a therapy meeting, right? You
Yeah.
know, NA, AA, that type of thing.
It's an
We've
online
changed up the
group.
format. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
He says, waiting to speak. Been waiting. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna do what we can to get you on when we do the call in. The call in program doesn't start until Monday. The reason for that is there's a process getting the entire thing set up. We would have done it today, but today we thought we were going to be doing a an interview, and then at the very last moment, well, not at the very last moment. To his credit, he did give us time, but so that got.
Yep.
But you'll remember Sunday.
I don't know what that means.
I'll take your word for it, though.
Yep.
Yeah, I will absolutely take your word for it. So, to the preparedness, I could sit and I could tick these things off. You know, Johnny brought one up that I think was kind of essential, and it was on the list, and I can tick these things off. But what you're going to do if you're running through this logically and you're actually planning to try to stay sober, then what you're going to do is you're going to sit down and you're going to say, what are the things that can cause me to slip? Who are the people that can cause me to slip? What situations do I not handle well? And when you get all of these things listed, and we've talked about this before on the show, you know what happens when it goes from your dome to this piece of paper? When you start bringing in different senses, right? Different things happen. Like when I first started this, I said, hey, writing down the names of these people is not like saying to yourself, all right, well, you know, Tommy, Johnny, you know, Ken. All right, those are the people. No, write them down. Write them down because it literally starts to put a layer of protection between you and exactly what's going to happen. When you acknowledge that there are things out there that are a threat, you're halfway to the preparedness. The next thing you got to do is after you list every single way that you could stumble, every single way that you could stumble, who could cause it, any of that, right? When you get to the point where all of that is listed, then list how you can cope with it, right? List how you're going, what is going to happen? What is going to be my game plan, right? What is the striatum going to do? How am I going to retrain the striatum? Because cravings, people, right? Cravings are one of those things. Cravings are one of those things that every single one of us is going to endure. There's no other way around it. You know, you're going to go through times when you crave. It's amazing to me how many people will call me and say, you know what, I haven't had cravings in a year or two, and they hit me, and man, I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Took you by surprise?
Yeah.
Right? A drug addict craving drugs. Wow, didn't see that coming.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And it probably came from something that triggered it that you didn't realize was a trigger. You probably don't even know what it was. It just happened.
Yeah, or you may not even know that you had the concept of a trigger, right?
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to stay sober, if you're wanting to live your best life, then these are things that you're going to have to address. So what's going to happen when cravings go on? Well, we've talked about this 100 times on this boat, right? Whether it's a craving, whether it's anger issues, whether it's anything, what do? Well, we change what we're looking at. You understand that you are not your brain. We've talked about this many times. You ain't your brain. And you and your brain are not always on the same page. And in fact, let's be really honest, you're hardly ever on the same page.
Yeah.
Right? And very often your brain is working against you.
Yeah, JJ makes a good point here too. You know, basically kind of summed it up for us.
Sure.
He says, let me get back to it. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Where'd it go? Come on, don't do that to me. I hit the wrong button. Anyway, yeah, she said that acknowledge the people, places, and things that are triggers. You got to acknowledge it. It's such a great point.
No question.
If you don't acknowledge it, you're ignoring it, and it's always going to pick at you guys. It'll pick at you until you address it.
Until you lose.
Yep.
Right? Until you absolutely lose. That's the reality of this. But so have a game plan. And since we know that you are not your brain and that your brain is working against you, right? Think of what's going on in your brain. Your brain is going like this. Like right now, I'm staring at my bobble-headed partner. I have been staring at my bobble-headed partner for 46 minutes. Well, if I start losing it right now, right? My brain is already in a rhythm. And if I'm getting ready to feel like, you know what, I feel like I got to get high. This is driving me crazy. Well, guess what? I'm going to stop looking at my bobble-headed partner. I'm going to do everything I can to knock my brain off of whatever track it's on. So I'm going to get up. I'm going to get out of this room. I'm going to change my heart rate, right? Because anything that's going on currently inside the brain, I'm going to rewire. I'm going to stop with the four walls I'm staring at. I'm going to stop with the air I'm breathing, the smells in this house, all of it. I'm going to go outside. My olfactory senses, my visual senses, right? My heart's going to start speeding up. My legs, I've been sitting on my butt for the last 47 minutes staring at Mark. I'm going to get up and I'm going to start walking. And I'm going to do it at a brisk clip. And you know what happens when you walk at a brisk clip, people? Well, of course, your heart's going to speed up. Also, what you're looking at, it starts doing this one, right? So as you're sitting there thinking about drugs, you're like, man, I really want it. Was that a bird? What the hell was that? Was that a blue jay? And then as you're doing that, a car goes by and you're like, oh, man, I remember so-and-so had a car like
Great
that.
analogy. Great analogy.
1992, dude bought a car just like that. It was 92. You know what else happened in 92? 92 is the year I met that girl. What was her name? Now there's no chance your brain is going to be doing what it was doing. Do you understand? We let our brain run wild on us because we don't do anything to stop it. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. All you have to do is change what you're looking at, change what you're smelling, change what, get a big, cold glass of water and pound it. Because the sensation of that going down your throat and everything else, your brain's going to be like, you know what you need to do? You need to get, hey, what was that?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Honestly, like any of those things that take all of your senses and you bring them in and go slap, slap, slap. And you start, bopping the senses around a little bit. And the next thing you know,
yep.
Like you literally will go, oh yeah, what? I went on this walk because I totally forgot about it, right? Yep. Like you'll be out there thinking about why the hell did I even start? What am I doing? What was I was just walking to?
Incorporate.
Oh, that's right. I wanted to get high. That's why I'm out here, right?
Yeah.
And
incorporate all the senses that you possibly can.
Everything you can do in as many ways as you can. But so often, people will call me and say, Finch, if your brain is working with you, you're probably not in relapse. This is a phenomenon that is unique to people who are in the process of relapsing. They're in the process of having their brain try to talk them into getting high. The vast majority of people here are overcoming habits that in many cases have been ingrained for very long periods of time. And that small little part of your brain called the striatum has been trained to go to a default setting. Every time this happens, like a computer, right? Every time this happens, do this function. Well, the striatum goes, okay, he's stressed out, let's do a line. He's having a bad time, let's get drunk. He's having a bad time, do this. So it's a process of knowing what to do when that starts. And let's see, we are on our 13th month here on the lifeboat, which means that about every 60 days, every 55 days, somebody that we really care about dies because they can't say no to this stuff. And we're blessed. We really are, because if you do the math, it should be a lot more than that. When you consider how many people here are deep in addiction, I mean, I mourn the loss of every single person, and I pray every single day that we never lose another. But it's the fact that we come here every day and we concentrate on this stuff. If your brain's working with you, bud, and you're working with your brain, God bless you. That is awesome, dude. I couldn't be happier for you if I tried. I really couldn't.
That's kind of the mind over matter thing, right? Ain't that kind of
absolutely. And there are people for whom there is a very comfy symbiotic relationship between you and the mind. People that spend a tremendous amount of time in meditation, and people that really, and that's by the way, another fantastic thing that you can do. It's on almost everybody's list of things you can do when you really start losing it, right? For me, meditation works, but it doesn't work if I'm trying to do it in the same place I'm stressing, right? Like I lived in a cell, very, very small, right? And I couldn't get out of that cell. Right? Not a lot of option on that. So when I started to stress, the ability to change my environment was not possible. So I used to close my eyes, try to control my breathing, and see if I couldn't change the environment in my mind. And it worked. It was something that I'm not good at meditation. I never have been, but it certainly saved me out of some tough situations. But yoga is one that works. Exercise. You realize anything, like Mark said, Right, change your senses up as much as you possibly can. When you start sweating, right? When you got sweat rolling down, the body, everything has changed. It really has. Your body will start to begin to worry about things other than what you were thinking about. When people say, I just couldn't quit thinking about it because you didn't try. I'm sorry. If you want to try to stop thinking about something, well, there is a technique to do that. And that technique involves incorporating as many of your senses as possible, changing your environment. Okay. If you're listening to the sound of my voice and somebody did not lock the door to your cell an hour or two ago, well, then you can get up and get the hell out of the room you're in. And I don't care. You say, yeah, I got bad knees. I can't walk. You step outside, right? You could step outside. I promise you can. You may not be able to walk 2 or 3 miles. Walk 6 feet. Go outside. The difference in smells, the difference in light, the difference in everything.
There's a technique called grounding, guys. I know we haven't talked about that here much, but it's actually a biological thing that happens. Go outside without your shoes and socks on and put your feet in the grass. You will legitimately magnetically connect to the earth. And I know it sounds crazy, but they've done so many studies on this, and it really does help. I'm not saying it's a immediate fix or anything. I'm just saying it can,
right,
your overall attitude and stuff, it can help. And that's what we're talking about. There is no like magic pill or magic exercise or something that's going to take it all away and we never have to think about it again. The cold hard.
No, but if you find that, please let us know.
Yeah, for real, man. The cold hard facts about it, guys, is we're never not ever going to get rid of it all the way. It's just what it is. We're on this journey, but we're happy. We're happy. And it's not a fake happiness like you got from those chemicals. This stuff is real. And as you get forward through there, you'll start doing things in your life to where the dopamine will be released from natural things that are just happening. You'll find yourself enjoying video games again, watching movies, talking to people, those little things that might get overlooked.
Yeah.
That's a victory for you if you start doing that.
Make no mistake.
And you can build off of that. And that's
it's funny that you say victory too, because you said something early on in the show and I squirreled off in another direction. But at the time that you said it, you said, I remember doing something and I thought, I can't remember the last Christmas. People who abuse drugs for really long periods of time, let's say you're addicted to dope for 20 or 30 years, and you get sober, you go through the first time phenomenon. This is something that many, many people in recovery go through. So, you're like, wow, that's the first time I've made love ever when I wasn't wasted. That's the first time I've driven a car when I wasn't wasted. That's the first time I've gone shopping. That's the first time because honestly, if you've been addicted to dope for 30 years, that's 30 years of being wasted.
Yeah.
Right. There were no days I did anything sober. Right. Maybe steal. Right. If I didn't have money, that would be the only reason that I was sober. And I would remedy that really quickly by stealing something. But for the most part, everything I did high. So yeah, there was a long period of time where every single thing was a first. It gets really cool when you're out of those, when there aren't any firsts left. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh yeah, that what happens at that point is the striatum, right, that part of your brain is now going to the different defaults, right? You have now begun to program and reprogram the brain to know exactly what to do when that crazy uncle who's always wasted shows up at the house. The striatum's going to go, Uncle Alan's at the front door. You're leaving. All right, guys, take it easy. Got something I got to do. Like the brain knows instantly. I'm not hanging out for this. I'm not sticking around for this. This guy's danger. I'm gone. I'm gone without a decision, right? You don't have to think about it. It's the default setting. It's one of those, I don't want to offend anybody, right? So the default setting is always going to be, oh God, Alan, look, you came again, right? I got to run. I was heading out to see a friend and hey, but that's lying. No, it's protecting yourself.
Yep.
Protected.
It is.
I'll give you a pass on that. Promise you.
Yes.
I'll give you a pass on
100.
that. Wolf Light says, hey, Wages World. I'm day 6 post-op total trip hip replacement.
Oh.
I'm home for 2 months. I hope I can catch one of your lives. Man, hip replacement.
Wow.
Yeah, that's no joke. Right? Not a lot of surgeries more rugged than a hip replacement.
Right. Forgive me for asking, Wolf, if you want to let us know how old you are. I know that happens a lot. Well, getting up around Tommy and my age now. Something else
Yeah.
you said a minute ago, Tommy, I was going to comment on. You said 30 years of doing drugs. People put that in perspective like this. Put a percentage on it. That's over half of his life
Oh yeah.
that he was fighting this, or in the life at least.
Yeah.
That is, in other words, he's had more time on this earth high, or at least searching for it, than he hasn't. So it becomes a really hard part of who you are that you got to at least mold back a different direction. And he's doing a wonderful job with it. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of all you guys in here. And it's just what we got to do. That's why we do
Thank
this.
you, my brother. Thank you. I mean that. We are closing in on the top of the hour, people. So a couple of things. Talked about them in the beginning, but I want to harken back to these because I think that how can people get addicted to this crap? It's gross. I assume he's talking about pain medication.
Probably.
I've heard that so many times from people where they'd say, I can't understand how you could like this. I'm itching. You know what I mean? All of these different, the things that, that feel awful to you, really, really, it's the things that draw me in. It's just had my number from the very first time I ever did. It doesn't make any sense to me either if it makes you feel better. Finch says, I got to go. Another person or channel needs enlightenment. Finch, have a great day, man. And good luck with that. Hope you help them out. Yep. Yeah, appreciate you. Don't get me wrong, as prescribed for pain, trying hard to understand what people like. Here's what it boils down to. And I think I'm glad that you actually brought this up. Wolflight, I really am. Hydro or OxyContin, or oxycodone or hydrocodone or any of those. Here's what it comes down to. The first time that somebody takes it, it's a painkiller, right? And if you have physical pain, it removes it, which is awesome, right? I mean, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. If you don't have physical pain, that drug does something completely different. It continues to look for pain. The pain it looks for is spiritual pain, emotional pain. And the first time that all of a sudden, all of those things that you've been beating yourself up about for 5 or 10 years just goes away. Or all of those, nightmare feelings or feelings of inadequacy or all of that. There's a reason that rock stars all do this, right? Because when they walk out on stage, there's no pressure. There's no, I wonder how I'm doing, because that pain, the pain of people staring at you, goes away instantly. Right. I spent a lot of my life working in front of big crowds of people, and it's a different experience on opiates than it is on anything else. It's sad but true. Most of the people addicted to it have something seriously going on in their life that's probably emotional or spiritual, and the painkiller does to that emotional and spiritual pain what it's doing to your hip.
Well, you'll hear people say stuff like, "I was a better me when I was on these drugs," and I used to say the same thing, and I don't think I was. I just think what it did was it just dropped my inhibitions, and I was just doing whatever I did, and it wasn't real. That's why I know it's not a better me, because it's not real. It's fake.
Yeah, no, and the problem is that, and this took me a really long time to really believe, because I used to say, I'm just so much better performing in whatever I do, whether that was being in public speaking or doing whatever, even skiing. I'm just way better off when I'm high. What it really comes down to is I just didn't care. Like, it took away that feeling of, because you could do really poorly and just not care. And it took me years, decades to realize that I wasn't at my best. I was never at my best. I really wasn't. It's just that, I had this fear of not being good. And once I was able to get rid of that fear, I'm way better when I'm not doing that crap, and I'm a lot happier. But that was such a great question, Wolflight. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you to all of you. I really appreciate you. I'm so glad that you're here, Tara. Oh no, you know who it was? It wasn't Tara. It was somebody. You know what? Mark, say something for 2 seconds so that I can find this and look like.
Hey. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, guys. Listen, guys, we will do a call-in show Friday, which is our Monday here. And you guys, please come back for that. It's gonna. I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it. we're going to try to set it up very similar to what Marfugel and Dex do over there. Obviously, it's not going to be exact. They try to get a lot of callers in. I don't know that that's going to go that way with us because some of the subject matter we talk about takes a little bit longer of an explanation.
Correct.
And we want to give the people that are calling in that opportunity to really ask a question and really get a thorough answer. And the premise behind this, guys, is learning from somebody else's mistakes, somebody else's successes. You get to see that on the screen when we do stuff like that, and
right, in real time.
Good
stuff. Absolutely good stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the call in. We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
We just think it really, it fits the show well. So who I was talking about was Pagan 11.
Okay. Yeah.
You remember she came on and she talked about her daughter, and
Yep.
Her daughter's at home. She left a message in the comment section that said the prayers worked and my daughter's at home. And I mean,
that's
put a lump right here.
Man.
Would not believe. People, if you never read the comment section here on the boat, you're missing out.
Yep.
Because you will find out a lot more about the people that you're with. You will find out a lot more about yourself in the process. Take the time. And I'm not saying that so you leave a comment. Just go read some of this stuff because it is absolutely life-changing in a lot of cases. So happy that she's home.
Yep.
And God bless that. We're going to keep the prayers going. We really are. So already, people, we will be back. Let's see, Friday night, right here on the lifeboat. Between now and then, you know what to do. Reach out and try to save somebody. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. On the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
And people, it's coming. Huh? This is a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you.